What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? And happy National Pokemon Day. Like, how cool is this? We have a day where we celebrate the fact that on this very day in 1996 in Japan, Pokemon was launched, and what an amazing run it has been on ever since. So fortunate, so blessed to be able to be in such an amazing hobby, and that it has, stood the test of time, and it has no signs of slowing down. So I thought this would be an awesome opportunity to throw away the spreadsheets, throw away all the data. Let's look at some of these amazing pieces of cardboard over the years that have come out. There's some crazy value attached to some of these. There's some crazy rarity attached to some of these. And you know that I'm a big believer in understanding where something came from in order to have a better understanding of where it's going. So this was a incredibly fun, eye-opening, and just cool experiment for me to go through, and I can't wait to share it all with you guys, okay? So let's kick it off right now. Now, you know I am all about the family, not only my personal family, but also all of you out there. I consider you my family as well. So I thought the best thing to kick this off was going to be this 1998 Kangaskhan family event card that came out. So the cool thing about this is it was a tournament in Japan, and it was parents and children. So you were a team, a parent and a child, and if you won enough battles against other parents and children, you would get this card. Like, how cool is that? Even though I'm probably not the best Pokemon player out there, I would love to grab my kids and to go and compete against other parents and children. I thought it was also really cool because Kangaskhan obviously carries the kids in their pouch, so it was a very it made sense to put him on this card, and I think it is really, really cool. Another cool thing that I saw when I was doing research around this is it features the Pocket Monster trading card game logo, which you don't see very often, so that was awesome. There has only been 54 of these graded by PSA. The last 10 sold for 150 grand, and the last 9 sold for $100,000. Absolutely bonkers. What an amazing card. What a cool way to kick off this video. I was really excited. A parent-child tournament. I would compete in anything with my kid. If my kid wanted to do Tiddlywinks, I would go on a Tiddlywinks tournament. I got into Pokemon over a year ago because my kid said she wanted to get into Pokemon. So I love this. This really resonated with me, and I thought it was a great way to kick off this video. Next card, same year. Listen, 1998, you're going to see a couple cards from that year. That was an epic year for Pokemon cards in Japan. This is another one where the story behind it was just absolutely mind-boggling to me. So I will keep it as short as I can, but at the end of the day, there was a Japanese magazine that decided to run a fake or fictional university. And through this university, you had to do an entrance exam. Then you had to have another quiz and a midterm exam and the final exam. Now, you didn't have to pass the other ones to get to the final exam. So, I mean, it was still really cool. But the final exam, if you took it and you passed it, you got this Magikarp card from the Tamamushi University. Freaking amazing story. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, they printed 1,000 of these. The intent was to give it out to 1,000 people. But the rumor has it that the final exam was so hard, 1,000 people didn't pass it, and not all 1,000 ended up getting sent out. That tracks because only 107 of these have ever been graded by PSA. So super rare cards. The last 2 10s, one sold for 50,000, one sold for 66,000. And I also love the art on this. Like, look at that Magikarp. He is all about it. I mean, that is just a cool card. Really cool art and the story behind it. If you get a chance to sit down and read it all in its entirety, this would be a 30-minute video if I just talked about all the different layers and levels that this magazine did. And you got a booklet, and you got different stickers, and you got different rankings as you pass tests. It's just really cool. So if you have some time to dig into it, dig into the origins of this card, but just know that it was amazing. It was not easy. And even though 1,000 of them were made, nobody knows how many were distributed. Rumor on the street is way less than 1,000, making it super rare. All right, very next one right here. Everybody has seen the Topsun case, and this isn't exactly a rare card. Like, you can see Topsun blue backs. I looked at the list of ones that have sold. There have been quite a few of these that have sold, but what I love about this card is the lore behind it, right? Like, this says 1995 on the label, but some people say, hey, this didn't even show up in stores till 96, 97. Some people say it's not a Pokemon card because it wasn't made by Creatures Inc. It was made by Topsun. It is just... And it was in packages of gum. Like, I loved it. There were 2 of them in packages of gum. I just think it's just a really cool card. Obviously, one of the very first Pokemon cards, if you consider it as such, to ever come out. I think the story behind it is great. 364 have been graded by PSA, 24 10s, 62 9s, 53 8s. So by measures, that is not an exceedingly rare card, and that's reflected in the price, right? A PSA 10 sold for $25,000. Listen, PikiPikaPapa doesn't have $25,000 to splash around, but in the world of super rare Pokemon cards, grading a PSA 10, $25,000 isn't even going to scratch the top 50 probably, right? It certainly doesn't scratch the top 10 or the top 7 on this list right here. PSA 9s you can get for $2,000 to $4,000, and I think it's really cool that you can get PSA 8s for right around $1,000. If you want to save, then it's really a really cool opportunity to know that, you know, with some saving, you could actually get one of these cards in a fairly high grade further down the line if it's on your ultimate collector's bucket list. So really cool. Love this Charizard Blueback. I think it's just an awesome card to add to the collection. And again, it's just a big piece of history in the world of Pokemon. So very next one. This is another one, man. If you're gonna, I'm just so excited. Like, all of these stories are absolutely mind-boggling to me. So this is a 1999 Super Secret Battle Trainer. This was given to regional heat winners in 1999, but it goes beyond that. This was an actual ticket to a super secret battle that was held in August of 1999. So it's not just words on a piece of cardboard. Like, this actually is what got you into the tournament. So there was number 1, number 2, and number 3 trainers. There's a total PSA population of 21 of these. Now, I don't know if when you went to this super secret battle, if you had to turn it in or what, but I would imagine that if you had to bring this as a ticket, it kept them from getting a ton in really high grade, and that is reflected by here. Only 21 graded. Absolutely nuts. 14 10s, 5 9s, and what really, really went nuts for me is PSA has no public sale record. So if you go into PSAcards.com, you can check their population report. You can also see recent sales transactions, and there was nothing for this card on PSA. That just speaks to the rarity of it, and it also speaks to the fact that the people who have it are holding on to it. But there was one that sold at Heritage Auctions recently for $90,000. Absolutely bonkers. Love this. I just think this is such a cool card with such a cool story. Like, can you imagine that? Not only do you win the regional heat, but then you get this, like, I'm picturing people going down this back alley with like brick walls on either side, and you knock on a metal door, the metal door opens, the smoke comes out, you present this card. That's actually a true story. I went to Poland one time with Habitat for Humanity, and I went to a club in Poland, and it was exactly like that. Another story for another day. But I just envision all of that happening, and then you go in and there's this epic Pokemon tournament going on. So super cool stuff here. Next one. This is another one. It's a recent one. Like, you saw lots of 98, lots of 99. Like, obviously older is going to be rare and expensive. But what I loved about this is this was a special card that was made to celebrate the Pokemon Company's founder and president 60th birthday party. 60 of these were made. There's only 60, period, end of discussion, in existence. Only 3 of them have ever exchanged in the open market, and none since 2020. PSA 10 sold for $100,000, PSA 9 sold for $13K, PSA 8 for $22,000 back on 6/20/2022 or 2020. I'm going to tell you right now, if it sold for $100,000 back in 2020, I have a feeling that it would sell for even more nowadays. Just a cool card. Can you imagine going to the founder's birthday party and then being presented with this Pokemon card? Again, I'm sure that a lot of them were lost throughout the process. I'm sure not everybody who attended the party thought that the Pokemon card was really cool. And a lot of them probably didn't end up holding on to it, or they gave it to their kids when they got home and they got trashed or lost or whatever. So this is just another amazing piece of cardboard with an amazing history behind it. And I just think it's super cool. I really do. This was such a fun video to put together. I hope you guys like it as much as I do. And then, of course, this isn't the final one. This is the second to final, but you can't do a video without talking about the Pikachu Illustrator. So at the end of the day, another Japanese magazine was doing an illustration contest. The winners got this Pikachu Illustrator card. All of us know this because this is the one that Jake Paul ended up acquiring for a total price all in of $5.275 million. So he had to buy a PSA 9 and he had to throw cash on top in order to make the transaction to get the PSA 10. And there's only 41 in existence. period. 26 have been graded by PSA. It's the only card that says Illustrator instead of Trainer. It's got this little pen icon by it. It's the art is by the original designer of Pikachu. Like, the list just goes on and on and on about how cool and rare and special this card is. And say what you want about celebrities getting invested in Pokemon or any kind of cardboard collecting. It's good for the hobby. It really is. We want as many people to see this as possible. We want as many people to think it's cool as possible. I love it when people who have the means and wherewithal to responsibly, it's hard to say the word responsibly, but he's not losing any meals because he spent, $5.25 million on this. So it's cool to see people who have it go ahead and decide to spend it on stuff like this. There was a PSA 9. This is part of the transaction that sold for $1.275 million. So he bought the PSA 9 for $1.25. Then he put $4 million on top of it, and he traded it for the PSA 10. PSA 8, Pop 7 sold for $480K. A PSA 7 sold for $375,000. Just really, really cool stuff here, and certainly is the grail of the hobby. In every cardboard collecting space, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, Pokemon, Magic, we all have a grail card, and this certainly is the North Star in the Pokemon space. So really cool. Watch the video on Jake Paul acquiring it. Like, I watched it from beginning to end, and I'm not even a Jake Paul fan. I just thought it was a really cool video and a really cool story on a very important piece of history in the hobby that we love so much. So this next card, this was my favorite one of all time. Hands down, my favorite one of all time. And this is the Pokemon Blastoise commission card. Now, this was commissioned by Wizards of the Coast to try and convince Nintendo executives in Japan to allow it to handle the English release. So, I know what it is like to walk into boardrooms or to have conversations with big companies when you're just a small fish and you're trying to get them to invest in or entrust you with their brand. I was fortunate to be a part of a small group. I wasn't a founder or anything like that, but I was able to watch the founders do this and be a part of it, and I was just always amazed at the level of intensity whenever we had to go somewhere and present something, and we would all huddle up in these rooms and we'd get conference calls return, and good news or bad news. It was just always an amazing experience. So when I read about the story here about this Blastoise card, it really spoke to me and it really touched me and pulled my heartstrings. So only 2 of these exist. That's it. There's only 2 of these in the whole entire world of worlds, and this one sold for $360,000, and I don't have $360,000, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I think that is an absolute steal. I think there's only 2 of these in the world. I think the story behind it is incredible. I think this is Pikachu Illustrator level type card right here. I think this should sell for in the millions, honestly, and I think it will in the future. If it ever exchanges hands, I'm sure whoever bought this for $360,000 is just sitting there smiling ear to ear, just grinning like an idiot. So I think this is an awesome one. Again, nobody knows where the other one is, which also adds to the lore and the mystery of this card. Like, I just think it's so cool. Nobody knows where the other one is. So there's one which has exchanged hands, and then there's one that's just disappeared. Maybe it's a Wizard of the Coast executive who has it. Maybe Nintendo of Japan has it somewhere. Either way, a super cool card. This exercise was amazing for me to go back. This is just a small list of the cards that I researched. I think there's at least enough content for another 2 or 3 videos. So if you all like stuff like this, these are some of the more common ones that people have heard of. There's also some more obscure ones. If you guys want me to put the time into doing more videos like this, I am happy to do it. It is out there. I enjoy learning about the lore. I enjoy learning about the founding and where this all came from. So no skin off my back. If you guys want me to do some more, drop it in the comments down below, and I would love to share it with you. You guys have an epic Pokemon day. I appreciate you more than you know, and we will be talking soon. Thanks, everybody.